Hello and welcome to another episode of the Popcorn Conspiracy. I'm Dave G, and joining me tonight is my co-host.
Hello everybody, I'm Kyle.
And tonight we're going to be taking a look at Clint Eastwood's brand new movie, a movie which has become controversial for some reason. Basically, the movie is Richard Jewell, and it tells the story of a real-life case, a man called Richard Jewell, who's played here by Paul Walter Hauser. Now, for those who aren't aware of why Richard Jewell came to the forefront, basically during the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, there was a bomb go off at a concert that was being held as part of the Olympics. Now, at the time, Richard Jewell was a security guard working on that night. He was the man who discovered the bomb and tried to get people away from it before it exploded. Now, at first he was considered a national hero, but then only days after the whole incident, a newspaper in Atlanta ran an article by journalist Kathy Scruggs, played here by Olivia Wilde, which reported that, in fact, the FBI were looking at Richard Jewell as being the bomber. It basically destroyed the man's life. He suddenly had journalists going everywhere that he went. His family came under huge scrutiny, and he did, in fact, find out that Tom Shaw, FBI agent, played here by John Hamm, was investigating him as being the bomber. And Richard Jewell reacts to that by getting a friend of his, Watson Bryant, played by Sam Rockwell, to be his lawyer and to try and defend himself against what he considers to be unfounded allegations made against him that should never have been made public. Well, mate, I got to ask, what did you think of Richard Jewell? This film has kind of become controversial. There are people all around the world saying that it's going to be Clint Eastwood's least successful movie because of the controversy, but what did you think of Richard Jewell, and kind of what do you think of the controversy around the film as well?
Yeah, it was a movie I was really looking forward to. I think it's really commendable that Clint Eastwood is still putting out the work that he is in front and behind the camera when actors 20 years younger than him have retired, and he's still directing these compelling movies.
Yeah.
I know he's focused a lot on telling like true story movies lately, with this or Sully, The Mule, American Sniper, and even 1517 to Paris, which I didn't think 1517 to Paris was really a great movie or really should have been a film in the first place. But it's still great that he at his age, he's still making these kinds of movies, still taking chances here and there. The controversy, I don't really, I guess I can understand where they're coming from with the controversy. There's a bit of, in how it throws a bit of shade on the journalist who kind of broke the story, Kathy Scruggs, as you say, played by Olivia Wilde, and how she kind of, in the movie, kind of depicts her as trading sex with John Hamm's FBI character for the story. I can't say how true or false the depiction of what happened is, but I think it did show. I think that it's been overblown a bit because it's depicted as that she does have. It's not as simple as she meets this guy and says, "Hey, let's have sex. You tell me the story and we'll have sex." It is depicted that she does have relationships with these people.
She knows them. Yeah,
she knows them, and that's kind of how she gets the stories that she does. How she's able to break the stories that she does, and it's not just as simple as having sex with them to get them. She is a journalist. I can't say how true or false. I know that John Hamm's FBI agent character is kind of an amalgamation of other real life people, but again, Kathy Scruggs was a real person. I think what I will say is that I think the movie was more respectful towards her in the aftermath of what happened than it was to the FBI.
Yeah.
After there's a confrontation between her and Sam Rockwell's character where the Jewell family finally start fighting back over the slander that and the libel that they've been put under, and the how much danger and how much stress they've been they've had to endure as a reflection of what she did with her story, and when they stopped proving Richard Jewell's innocence by with lie detector tests and things like that, she actually does investigate. She actually does start to investigate the crime to see whether whether Richard Jewell actually could have done this. And there's a specific thing in the movie about where Richard Jewell was last seen in the crowd, and where a bomb threat was called in shortly before the bombing happened. And this is something that the movie goes back to several times, and there's just simply no way that Richard Jewell would have been able to get from this location to this location in that time. Like, for one thing, I mean, just practicality-wise, it's impossible to make that distance in that short amount of time, but also Richard Jewell is quite a hefty guy. And when she finds this out, she realizes that, yes, she was fed bad information in the first place, and she's clearly distraught with it and witnessing how this is affecting the family, and especially the effect that it's had on Richard and his mother. And she confronts the FBI about it. She confronts John Hamm's character about it and all this. But I think that's something that hasn't really been... when the controversy is really talked about, I think that's something that's not really been focused on at all. That the movie is actually a lot more charitable towards her than I think it had any need to be. It does give her the benefit of the doubt that had she known for certain that this wasn't true, she wouldn't have gone through with the story. And it does depict her as being affected when she sees how much this has hurt people. So yeah, and as for it being like Clint Eastwood's least successful movie, yeah, that is a pity. I guess it could be. I mean, I am surprised that 1517 to Paris might end up making more money than this. I think because, I mean, this is a movie that has a star-studded cast, and that was a movie that starred three people that actually, the three non-actors who actually were involved in the events that the movie was a depiction of. So I guess I'm just surprised that one made more. It looks like it might make more money than this. I don't think that really had to do much with the criticism that the movie's faced. It's just, I guess, just an unfortunate thing. There's a lot of movies. There's a lot more other movies out that people would rather see, I guess.
Yeah, but, yeah. I was going to say, like, I agree. Like, with what you just said there, it's a shame that it seems like people are giving it a wide berth, because it is a really good film.
Yeah. That's I mean, personally, I have very little respect for the media, and I think, like the government, they should be held accountable for what they do and the effect that they have on people's lives. When they there have been a lot of movies in the last few years largely hyping up journalists and not enough focusing on when they get things wrong. Like, there's movies like Spotlight and The Post, and even Bombshell, while clearly being anti-Fox News, it was very pro-journalist and about a journalist trying to uncover a story and such like that. So that was something that I was that got me interested in this story when I first heard about it. And it was something that I didn't know about, what happened to this guy. It's something that's kind of swept under the rug a little, I think. But not just on that basic level. I was really impressed by the performances that Eastwood got out of his cast. Which is amusing because of how bad the acting in 1517 to Paris was. But yeah, it was a really great movie. So I guess the controversy and maybe the low that it isn't quite being as successful as as I wish it was. Because it was. I thought it was a very great movie with really, really great performances in it. What did you think of it, Dave?
Yeah, I'm the same. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic film. Great script, great performances. I've found a little bit like the criticism that's come around this movie to be blunt, kind of ridiculous in a sense. Like, a lot of people have been saying that the movie is unnecessarily harsh on Kathy Scruggs, but like it kind of shows why she did what she did as well. Like, she's a crime investigating journalist, and there's a couple of times in this movie where it's kind of hinted that she feels that her stories never get the respect at the newspaper that they deserve. That other people's articles get put in the paper ahead of hers. So she's looking kind of for a big kind of scoop, and she gets one. Like this case was, at the time, one of the biggest stories going around. Like, someone put a bomb at the Olympic Games, basically. I know it was a concert, but it was a concert as part of the Olympic Games. It was a huge thing. She gets an inside story into what the FBI are doing. She runs with it. That's what a crime investigative journalist does. If anything, this movie kind of actually shows her in a softer light, because in the wash-up of what happened with Richard Jewell in real life, a lot of people hated her, and this movie doesn't go into it, but Kathy Scruggs battled with depression and became a prescription drug user and ended up overdosing in 2001. If anything, Clint Eastwood actually shows her in a better light in this movie, because he shows her coming to the realization that what she's done to the Jewell family was wrong. There is speculation out there that didn't happen, that she never came to that realization. So, if anything, Clint Eastwood's actually given her the benefit of the doubt. But a lot of the criticism I find with this movie is there's also a lot of stuff surrounding, like, oh, well, Richard Jewell was a gun owner, and that makes him a bad guy because he supported the NRA and everything. It's like, but that's not what this film is about. This film is about a man who is a hero who was portrayed as a villain, and it ruined his family. Like, that's the story that Clint Eastwood is telling here. And Clint Eastwood kind of doesn't, in a way, make this movie as political as what he could have done. Like, there's little things in there, like Watson Bryant, his lawyer, has a sign behind him that says, I'm more nervous of the government than I am terrorists, and stuff like that. But that's Watson Bryant's belief. That's not something that Clint Eastwood has decided, oh, let's just add that and make it a little bit political. It's really weird that people have come down so heavy on this movie when there's other movies out there that I find are more political than this film. But for me, what makes this movie so great are the performances. I thought Paul Walter Hauser is absolutely fantastic in this movie. Like, for him to have to carry this film with an actor who hasn't done very, very many major roles over his career, that is a huge thing that Clint Eastwood has put on his shoulder. And he does some very, very emotional scenes in this film with Sam Rockwell and Kathy Bates, people who are total A-listers, and the guy delivers. Like, this is... people should be celebrating the fact that this actor has done so well in this movie, rather than putting the film down. Even credit to Olivia Wilde. She's playing a character here that we don't see her play very often. Like, and she does an absolutely marvelous job. Kathy Bates, I think, is amazing in this film. The scene where she confronts the media and says to them, "You're ruining my family," that's going to stick with me for a long, long time, because I thought Kathy Bates was remarkable. My favourite performance in this movie, and this is not going to be a surprise to people who know me, Sam Rockwell. I have loved this guy's acting ever since I saw Moon, that film, years ago. He's in one of my favourite movies of all time, The Way, Way Back. I thought he was great in Jojo Rabbit. This guy he's one of those actors now where you can pretty much guarantee if you see his name in the cast list, he's going to put in a great performance. Again, I thought he was absolutely brilliant in this film. I think what also helped me with this movie was I was a little bit too young to remember much about this case. And when I heard the movie was being made, I deliberately did not look up online to see if